Welcome to Blended Learning PD Coffee Time. In this module for our school, we're going to look at different tools that are available for you to use in engaging students online. And so we're going to look at those over the course of 4 or 5 videos. In this video, as an introduction, I just want to look at a couple of things for you to think about as you're preparing to choose tools. Not everything that we talk about in this PD session is something you have to use. There may be other things out there that are equally as good, or maybe some even better that I'm not aware of, that you may choose to do. But I want to give you sort of an idea of some of the easiest tools to use and ways in which they can help your online blended learning. So without any further ado, let's get into looking at sort of an introduction to the tools. If we're going to look at first things first, the first thing you have to decide is how much are you going to blend your class. And this is an important question to ask because there is no set model for blended learning. If we look at this continuum where we have online instruction at one end and face-to-face instruction on the other end, then somewhere in the middle, anywhere between those 2 points, is blending those two things. So in its most basic idea, blended learning is just the blending of face-to-face instruction and some type of technology use that allows students to do something on their own. So one of the things that we looked at with the Mastery Monday schedule when we first sort of started talking about its conception was we were going to remove part of the face-to-face instruction, and teachers were going to be putting in an online component for students, whether that's an outside reading for them to do with some kind of assignment to finish to demonstrate that they did the reading, things that would normally take up class time, where you could remove that from the class and allow it to be done elsewhere in order to give you more time face-to-face, one-on-one with students in the class. In some of our blended learning concepts for next year, we're looking at moving that slider over more toward the online instruction piece and less face-to-face. So we're building in some blended learning classes that will meet face-to-face on Mondays only instead of going to a lab, and the rest of the week will be online, either individualized or collaborative learning on the part of students, where they have assignments that they do online and some way to project those back to the teacher, some way for the teacher to be able to see what they've done and hold them accountable for doing it correctly. So as you're thinking about blended learning, think about where along this continuum do you want to be. Not all blended learning has to be outside the classroom. You may still be in a class that meets 3 days a week and figure out a way that you want to blend part of your instruction so that students have some component of time where they are dealing with things online, using the technology at their disposal, away from the teacher, so that students take ownership of what they're doing. So this continuum is an important place to begin. And as we go through this particular module, we need to keep 2 things in mind. One is blended learning is about student ownership, and it is a component that we are struggling with at the moment, of students taking ownership. And we have a number of students on our campus that do that. They are on top of everything that they do. They are making A's and B's in every class. They turn in assignments early. They are on it. They are driven. And then we've got some that, quite frankly, were probably like me when I was in high school, put things off to the last minute, let deadlines pass by, things get put behind, they get zeros on assignments. Taking that ownership is something that we really got to instill in the students. And the second thing is finding a way to hold students accountable. And so, using something like Canvas, as we've discovered of late, using Canvas to give multiple choice tests, there is a log available for teachers that we've looked at where you can see if while they were taking the test, did they leave the screen for any reason. And if you set up a rule that says every time the log says you left the screen, I'm going to count that question wrong, then you build in an accountability piece for students where they know they cannot leave the screen, and students take ownership. So we're going to look at those two things as we go along, tools that will help students take ownership and provide ways for teachers to be able to hold students accountable. So without any more, let's just take a break, and we'll come back and we'll look specifically at how you could put your instruction online. Moving face-to-face instruction online in sort of a flipped kind of environment.